to the value stream mapping section of the stability series. Now in this section we'll define what a value stream is, we'll take you through the basics of how to value stream map, we'll define the types of value stream maps that there are, as well as developing an implementation plan. Before we get started, here's a small intro into the subject. This is my grandma. She's always been a great influence in my life. She was a woman of few words, but when she did speak, there always seemed to be a hidden lesson carefully weaved in that I'd find later in life. While my parents were working, she stayed at home and raised me until I got old enough to go to school. I recall her often passing the time working on big jigsaw puzzles. Naturally, I wanted to help. I began picking up random pieces and attempted to jam them together. None were fitting, and eventually I grew frustrated, then bored. Never one to interrupt, she continued working on her portion of the puzzle. I told her that I gave up and I didn't want to help anymore. She grinned and told me I wasn't going about it the right way. She then pointed to the picture on the box and told me she spends more time focusing on the outcome of the puzzle rather than the individual pieces. I didn't notice it before, but it dawned on me then that she'd often look back and forth between the image on the box and the pieces she had. Even at that young age, I realized that focusing on pieces without having a direction or an ultimate outcome in mind was silly. As I grew up, she used this lesson as a bridge to encourage me to clearly visualize goals first, before focusing on the pieces to get me there. It seems today that many organizations are fortunate to have amazing pieces in the form of a brilliant executive leadership, a talented, hard-working workforce, and an excellent supply and distribution network. Everyone is so focused on optimizing their piece of the puzzle that they rarely look up to see the ultimate image that they're working to build. To compound this, many organizations aimlessly apply individual lean tools with no ultimate picture that they're building toward. Obviously, an ultimate picture doesn't come with the keys to the executive office. The answer is, you as an organization not only have the luxury of creating this image, but the responsibility to do so. This ultimate image is expressed in the form of a value stream map, or particularly an ideal state map. Unfortunately, I've noticed many companies become enamored with the pieces of lean, but never take the time to create a vision they are building toward. After a few years of amazing efforts in 5S, SMED, and A3s lead them nowhere, lean just becomes another canned improvement exercise that didn't work. So here's a very generic definition of what a value stream is. It's all the steps needed to take a product or service all the way from beginning, which is the supplier, to the end, which is the customer. So if you're like most companies, your value streams have not yet been identified. Like this diagram shows, you have a loose idea of the products that flow through your organization, but the information lacks structure and organization. This is the same diagram, except we've clearly labeled each unique value stream. This simple diagram tells me a lot more than the one previously shown. First, I can clearly see that there are 4 unique product types that flow through the organization. Second, I can tell that the red value stream, or value stream C, takes the longest amount of time to go from supplier to customer. So let's focus on value stream C for a moment. Remember, one of the primary goals of lean is to reduce the time between order and cash. These two lines are literally the same illustration. Remember, along any value stream there are value-added and non-value-added steps. Removing non-value-added steps is our way to compress the value stream and reduce the order-to-cash lead time. In other words, compressing the value stream perfectly supports our goal of getting paid faster. So if you're implementing lean properly, you know that value stream mapping is essential. But there's a lot of hidden benefits that you may not know about. First of all is it creates a common language. So if you're in a hospital setting or in a factory setting, as long as you understand the value stream mapping symbols and the concepts, you can read any value stream map in the world and understand the improvements that that group is trying to make. The second thing is it creates a focus for your continuous improvement effort through an implementation plan that you drive out of your current state value stream map. The next thing is it defines flow. If you're forced to think about how products flow rather than optimizing silos, then that's the benefit you see from defining flow with your value stream map. The last thing is it's qualitative and quantitative. You can look at a map and from a qualitative perspective, just from the symbols that you're using, you can see that things are improving. And the quantitative aspect is perhaps more important. You can see the data from the data boxes and see where improvements need to be made. One of the first things you have to do is identify your value stream. Now, in any organization, products follow exact same or at least similar paths from beginning to end. Once you do an analysis on all your product, you'll see patterns start to emerge. Those are product families, and each product family has its own distinct value stream. So here's a simple way to identify the product families that flow through your organization. We'll be using skis in this example. You can see there are 4 types of skis that are made at the Simplex Ski Company: blue, red, green, and yellow. Each of these types go through various operations that include coating, tracing, cutting, painting, stenciling, and binding. The X represents each of the operations that the individual skis go through. Again, it's obvious that we make 4 unique types of skis here, but how many unique product families do we really have? At this point, we can sort the X's in the matrix and the product families emerge. Yellow appears to be a unique product family. Blue and green make up the same product family because they go through like, or in this case, identical operations. Red looks like it makes up its own unique product family. So, we make 4 unique types of skis, but there are only 3 unique product families. I've seen organizations insist that lean won't work because of the particular niche market they serve and the fact that they serve unique customers. At first glance, the number of products they offer appears to be very daunting. But a simple analysis like the one you've seen here can quickly group hundreds of products into just a handful of well-organized and manageable product families. Once value streams have been identified, I've seen many companies make another common mistake. They decide to peanut butter spread their lean efforts across all value streams. In other words, they decide they're going to 5S the entire shop, then they're going to use some Kanban cards, then TPM all machines, and so on across all value streams. This approach totally defeats the purpose of identifying your value streams because you could have just as easily taken this approach without spending the time to identify your product families and value streams. If you've already decided this will be your approach, regardless of your efforts in identifying product families, do not bother going any further with this exercise. Another common mistake is to stay with the peanut butter spread strategy but focus only on manufacturing instead of looking at the entire value stream. In most cases, manufacturing makes up less than 25% of the total lead time of a product. When I see Kaizen efforts solely around manufacturing, it tells me that the company lacks a total value stream perspective. Notice that if you peanut butter spread your lean efforts, you'll see minimum gains across all value streams. In fact, you may see no noticeable improvements in order to cash or quality of your products. This approach is a recipe for failure. So before you begin lean implementation, you're going to need to pick one value stream that you're going to apply all your lean thinking to. This is called a model line. This is going to serve as a model for the rest of your value streams. Now, the reason we do it this way is because it creates focus. If you apply lean thinking to all of your value streams, then the likelihood of success is pretty slim. It also limits the scope. If you can scope down to one value stream and compress that order to cash cycle, you can standardize that and then use that as a model for the rest of your value streams. So in this case, we're picking the red value stream as our model line. This means that we will focus all of our lean thinking on this line until we are satisfied we can sustain the improvements and use it as a model for the other product families. Keep in mind that it will be very tempting to begin working on other lines simultaneously. This is especially true with a large amount of early success on the model line. Maintain a disciplined approach and remind leadership that scope creep will dilute the efforts and eventually lead you to the incorrect peanut butter spread approach. Now, as a side note, make sure you pick a simple line for your first pass at this. You should go through great lengths to pick a line with a high likelihood of success. In this example, we chose the longest line just for illustration purposes. I recommend you not pick the most complex product family for your model line.